Welcome to VHS Voyage, where we're on a journey to find, watch, and discuss movies on VHS we've never seen or never knew existed. I'm Matt.
I'm Devin.
Today's episode, we're going to talk about
4 Rooms.
All right, today's movie is a movie that I've seen that Devin hasn't seen. I saw this movie whenever I was younger, probably like early teenage years. So I definitely am seeing it through a different lens today. But we're going to talk about 4 Rooms, which is a very interesting movie. And Devin, before we start talking about it, hit us with some facts and information.
This is directed by Allison Anders, Alexandre Rockwell, Robert Rodriguez, and Quentin Tarantino. This stars Tim Roth, Madonna, Antonio Banderas, Quentin Tarantino himself, Jennifer Beals, Bruce Willis, and there's some other people in there.
Yeah, it's a lot.
There's a multitude of people in there. Bruce Willis is uncredited, and he actually got a SAG violation for doing a movie without pay. This was originally titled 5 Rooms, and Richard Linklater was supposed to do a room, which is really depressing to me because of all these directors, Richard Linklater's by far my favorite.
What's he done? I'm not familiar.
Dazed and Confused, Before trilogy, Slacker, all kinds of stuff. I love Richard Linklater.
Sweet.
The final skit, the F word was used 193 times.
Dude, it was a lot.
In what 20 minutes?
That's Quentin Tarantino, bro.
I guess. When Marissa Tomei is playing the video game on the TV, it's Rambo 3 on the Genesis.
4 Rooms is broken into 4 different stories, each in a different room of a hotel, centered around a bellhop who, I'm assuming from what I can gather, it's his first night on the job, it seems like, and it's New Year's Eve night. Tim Roth's character is a bellhop named Ted, and he is in for a wild night. So I figure what we'll do is we'll just kind of give a broad overview of each of the stories and then just kind of briefly talk about each story in the movie. Before we do that, I want to say this. This is a movie that I 50% love, 25% like, and 25% didn't like.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 liked and 50 did not like.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
The missing ingredient takes place in the honeymoon suite, and this is the 25% I did not like. I didn't like this segment. So basically, it's like a coven of witches, right? It's like 5 or 6 females. They get the honeymoon suite because their intention is to perform a ritual to revive some goddess that they worship that died in the honeymoon suite, I guess. But part of this ritual involves getting a bunch of weird ingredients. So Ted, he gets to the room. The lead witch in the coven asks him to gather a bunch of crazy stuff. And it's stuff like thyme and... Wait, did I just call it thyme?
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying.
Thyme. Wait, is it thyme or thyme?
Thyme.
It's pronounced thyme, right?
Yeah.
I'm a fucking idiot. They're getting ready to do their ritual. Some of them get topless for reasons. I don't really know why. Some of them get topless. They start performing a ritual. They start tossing their ingredients in the pot. One of the witches, her ingredient was supposed to be the sperm of her lover. She couldn't put it in the pot because let's just say she swallowed.
What do you mean? That's the only way to say it.
So they call Ted and they're like, you gotta get Ted's sperm. Do whatever you gotta do. So that's what happens.
I'm not gonna lie. When this first room happened, I got a little worried.
Yeah, it's not a good start to the movie. And even thinking back when I watched this movie, I remember even back then not really liking. Even though I was a teenager and it had boobs, even then I'm like, I don't really like.
But
this.
It's still not good though. Even as a teenager, you would recognize it's not good. This was by far the worst segment. When it ended, I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to have sex with a woman, and then she blows this.
Oh yeah, she does a spell on him.
She does a spell on him and then forces him to have sex with her against his own consent. Yeah. Which is illegal and weird.
The next room is a segment called The Wrong Man. So he gets a call from a bunch of frat dudes partying in room 404, and they're like, hey dude, we need some ice. So he gets the ice, he starts to go up to their room, and he ends up getting the wrong room. So he goes to the wrong room, he walks in. As soon as he walks in, he has a gun pointed at him. The lights cut on, he's got a revolver pointed at his face. It's some crazy guy, and he's got his wife tied up to a chair and gagged. It's a really weird segment, but it turns out it's just a weird sex game that they do.
I didn't like this one either. I just really didn't see the purpose of it at the end, except just to elevate his night got crazier. It had purpose to the overall story, but not that single segment. I felt like it didn't give me anything there. Felt like I was watching David Lynch's Blue Velvet, but not as good.
Now I will say the one scene that I thought was kind of entertaining is the scene where he goes to the bathroom and he's He's like half hanging out the window, and he's like calling for help. And then some dude from the floor above him freaking is looking down at him, and he turns around and he's trying to explain the situation. And I think the dude threw up, didn't he?
He vomited on his face.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, do you think you could call the police, sir? Are you all right, sir? Sir? Nice.
So the next segment of the movie is called The Misbehaviors. And this is where, for me, the movie starts getting good. So in this segment, you got Antonio Banderas and his wife. They've got a couple of kids, one boy and one girl, and they're getting ready for a night out on the town. Ted's on his way with the bottle of champagne. Antonio Banderas decides, let's not take the kids with us. They'll be fine. They can watch TV. And Antonio Banderas tells the kids, don't misbehave. He says that several times.
Don't misbehave.
Ted comes up, and Antonio Banderas is like, hey, check on our kids every hour. I'll pay you $500. You understand why Antonio Banderas told them not to misbehave, because they are bad kids, man. So Ted leaves the bottle of champagne in there. The brother pops it open, and him and the sister are like drinking champagne. The brother's like smoking cigarettes. They find a syringe in the room, and the sister takes some lipstick and paints a target on a painting in the room, and they freaking start throwing the syringe at the painting like a dart. Eventually, they keep smelling the smell, and eventually they discover in the mattress of the bed is a dead hooker. There's just a dead hooker's body like hidden in the mattress under the bed, right? So they freak out and they call Ted, and they're like, there's a dead woman in the bed. And of course he doesn't believe them. Like, why would you believe these kids? These kids are nuts, right? While he's on his way up, they manage to get the porn channel turned back on the TV. They champagne gets sprayed everywhere. The boys smoking cigarette. They start a fire in the room. Ted gets up there. He gets stabbed in the leg with the syringe. He finds the dead hooker in the bed, and it all culminates with Antonio Banderas' character walking through the door while Ted's holding the hooker's foot with the syringe in his hand like this, with a fire and just all this insanity.
Did they misbehave?
Yeah, this was my favorite segment. I liked it even more than the last one because I just liked the chaos at the end, because
very chaotic.
They kind of foreshadow every single thing that's going to happen, and then it all culminates in like the last literally 30 seconds.
And that's when we get to our final segment, which is called The Man from Hollywood, and this is the one that Quentin Tarantino did. Now this segment is my favorite segment, with the one we just talked about being my second favorite. He gets to this room and they're all drunk, like Chester Rush, the movie star, who's played by Quentin Tarantino, and Bruce Willis, I think, is his agent. So there's 4 people in the room. They're all just drunk as hell, right? It all culminates in Chester Rush, the movie star. They have a bet. Him and the black guy has a bet that they got going on that was inspired from a movie they saw. If he can light his lighter 10 times in a row successfully, he gets Chester Rush's really awesome, amazing car. But if he fails any time in a row to light it in the 10 times in a row, if he fails, his pinky gets chopped off. And basically what they want to do is they want to pay Ted to chop the dude's pinky off. And at first Ted's like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm getting out of here. I'm done. But then Chester Rush is like, wait a minute, let me pay you $100 just to sit here for a minute and listen to my sales pitch. So he gives a sales pitch, and as he's doing it, he's throwing down $100 bills, and it ends up being a pile of $100 bills that comes out to $1,000. And he's like, all you got to do is chop his pinky off if he fails to light it, and you get all this money here. One of my favorite moments in the movie is when the very first time he goes to light it, it fails without any hesitation. Boom! Ted chops his pinky off, grabs the money, and he's just all happy, and he walks out the door with his money.
Okie dokie, Norman. Begin.
My finger! My fucking finger, Chester! My fucking finger, man!
One thing I really liked about this segment, I don't know if you noticed, but there's I think at least there's 2 different continuous camera shots that were really long.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that was easy to do.
Oh, they had to take a ton of rehearsing for sure.
Dude,
They probably rehearsed that for a week or so, a few weeks or so. This segment is purposely annoying.
Yeah.
Like it's like very drawn out, and they're like trying to make it more and more annoying, and like also it builds up tension as it goes along, similar to like what Tarantino did in like Inglourious Bastards, like the scene with Hans Landa in the beginning, or where they're having disguised themselves as Germans.
Yeah.
So it's real similar to that, and then but just ending abruptly was definitely the way to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the movie does get hurt from most anthology movies. You'll have the same writer and director throughout the entire thing. So I think there is some inconsistencies here. I didn't love it. I didn't really get left with anything. And when I watch movies, I like to feel something and be left with something. And this didn't really do that for me. You can call me pretentious. I don't care. This really didn't do much for me. I thought it was fun. It was fun. It was funny. There was definitely some funny parts at the end.
Except for that first segment.
No. That was just made me uncomfortable. I was just uncomfortable there.
I didn't. I do wish we got more movies like this though.
Yeah, I love anthology movies. It's one of my like favorite genres, but there's not a lot of them.
I like 4 Rooms. You know, for me, it's a keeper. If I watched it again, I definitely would skip through the first 2 rooms. All right, folks, that is it for tonight's episode of VHS Voyage on 4 Rooms. I'm Matt.
I'm Devin.
Catch you guys next week.